Hi and welcome. This week's video will be a tutorial about how I built my wattle fences. So yeah, let's go. So to make our wattle fence we need florist wire. So this has a plastic coating on it. We need a bunch of toothpicks, hardboard, our little fence jig thing that we're going to talk a bit more about. We need a knife, and we need some kind of cutting implement. I have a side cutter. You could basically use pliers or whatever, just so you have something to cut with. So let's jump into how to build the jig thing. So the jig we have is 3 layers of balsa wood with 2 layers of cardboard. I just glued all of that into a stack, and I drilled a bunch of holes basically all the way through, not quite, but... And the holes should be dimensioned so the toothpicks have a pretty tight fit. So basically you should have to push them in a bit. So, and the toothpicks will vary in dimension just a tiny bit, so you have to find ones that work, and you just push all the toothpicks in like this. So now we have all our toothpicks positioned in the jig. Now that we start working with the florist wire, we have to watch out for these 2 end toothpicks so they don't start bending inwards when we start weaving the florist wire. So we have to be a bit careful with that, but that is basically the only thing we have to look at. So we take our florist wire. I have drilled a couple of holes to push it in, just so it's a bit easier to grab a hold of, and I do a complete circle on the first one. And then we just start weaving back and forth. There's the only thing we have to be careful of, as I said, is these end ones. On the first layer I usually just, I don't know why, it just feels better to do a full circle and just try to tighten it up. I don't know if it helps, but it feels better. So I do that. And yes, the forest wire will try to combat you a bit. But this is basically it. Now we just do this. And I don't know, listen to music, watch a movie or whatever. So when we come over to the end ones, I try not to pull on the florist wire too much. And now we only have to be careful not to make it too tall. So we have that and a nice back and forth pattern. I think I will do maybe up to 1.5 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters. So quite a bit to go. Yeah, we will come back when I'm closer to the end. And here we have the finished weave. At the end ones I did the same thing as we did at the bottom, I just pulled them 1 turn extra at the end ones, and then you can start and just make it look neat and tidy before we glue it down. I don't know if something like that maybe. So what we will do now is we take our ordinary wood glue and a brush, and we will just smear a layer of white glue over the florist wire. The white glue will do 2 things basically. We will lock down the florist wire in its position so it won't move around, and also painting on the florist wire plastic is not it's not going to stick very well. So what we will essentially do when we paint the fence is painting the wood glue layer. So this will be, I wouldn't say a primer, but it will give us a surface to paint on at least. Yeah, something like that I think. Can do a bit extra on the end ones. And then we leave this to dry. And come back to it when it's dried. So now that the white glue has dried, we can remove the fence from the jig. Trying to not stab ourselves. And there's the fence. What we do now is take our side cutter and we try to just cut a more or less straight line. And there we go. You will find that it does want to basically the bottom one usually doesn't want to really play along, so we just try to make a straight line at the bottom like that. After taking the fence off the jig and cutting the bottoms of the toothpicks off, we take our hardboard and our white glue. You could probably use other glues, I don't know, and we stick the fence down on the base. So here we have the finished fence glued to the base. What we do now is to go in with our side cutters again and cut the tops of these, leaving maybe a millimeter or two of the poles sticking out. Have another example of that here. This is my tester base where I tested all the techniques. This is 4 sections of fencing, and what we have is, this is the unpainted version, then we have the primed version over here, just with a grey primer, and then I used a dark brown contrast paint, and then I did a grey dry brush at the end. So this is just one example of what you could build, and eventually here we have the final product. So one section of fence. Now I just need to build 1.5 meters more or something, so I can fill a table. Yeah. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section below, and I'll see you on Sunday. Good luck building!